Hey everyone, I am your astrologer Wonder Girl, taking you to new heights. This is your astrology horoscope for the full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn, which happens on Sunday, July 5th, 2020 at 12:43 a.m. Eastern Time, or Saturday, July 4th, 2020 at 9:43 p.m. Pacific Time, depending upon which part of the country and which part of the world that it is that you are in. Now, what I think this full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn is really all about, it's about us finally stepping into some new chapter in life that we've been trying to get to for quite some time. They've been talking about in all my videos, and about us structuring this new chapter and structuring this new life and putting the systems in place. So not that it just is kind of here, so not that it just feels like it's here, but so that it actually is here in a very real Capricorn earth sign kind of way. All right, not only is it about us finally making this new life really real and putting the structures in place, but it's also about us taking down the old structures and the old systems that are not good and that do not support this new life, at least not in the way that we need any longer. Do I like it? I like it long term. I like it long term. I think that this full moon lunar eclipse has been a long time coming, as necessary, needs to happen. But for some of us, it could definitely be very, very challenging to have to come to terms with the old way of being once and for all. To have to come to terms with the old way of being once and for all, and to let it go, put it aside so that we can move on into other ways of being that we now need in order to move on. All right, so that's what I'm going to talk about in this video, and that's what I'm going to do right now without further delay. All right, the first thing that I always like to do in these videos is to place where it is that I'm talking about, where it is on the chart, so that you can see it and so that you can understand it and follow along with me as I come up with what I'm coming up with, okay? So that's what I'm going to do first. What is this video about? It's about the full moon lunar eclipse. Well, because this is about a full moon, I want to look for the moon first in the chart. The moon is going to be right here in the sign of Capricorn. What makes a full moon a full moon? It's when the moon opposes the sun. That's what a full moon is. So the moon is here at 13 degrees Capricorn. That must mean that the sun is directly opposite in the opposite sign at 13 degrees Cancer, full moon. What makes this an eclipse? What makes this an eclipse is that this full moon is happening closely to the nodes, to the nodal axis. We've got the moon here near the south node and the sun here near the north node. Now, they're not too terribly close. They're about, 14 degrees away. And because they're about 14 degrees away, it's still an eclipse, but it's just a little bit more partial than it would be otherwise. And it's partial compared to the new moon solar eclipse, which we had 2 weeks ago, which was total. Although that doesn't really change my interpretation too much, if at all. All right, but I just wanted to point that out. We're now at a full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn, with the moon here being in the sign of Capricorn. What are full moons? Maybe I'll start there. What is a full moon? What is a full moon all about in general? Full moons in general are all about ending things, ending something, letting something go. But a lot of times before we can end something and let it go, we need to complete it. We need to take it as far as it can go. Maybe there are some of us who end things without finishing them, who end things without completing them, and that's fine, but that's not the way the astrology likes to do things. The astrology likes to complete things before it finishes them and moves on to something else, and that's a lot of times what happens at a full moon. With a full moon in Capricorn, what is it that we are completing? What is it that we are stepping into? And what is it that we are ending? Well, Capricorn to me has a lot to do with the word that I used in my introduction, systems and structures, putting those in place, especially putting systems and structures in place that can help us move up the ladder. Capricorn typically has to do with our career, our reputation, our social standing, the direction that our life is going in. All right, so what I think is going on at this full moon in Capricorn is that we are trying to complete putting the systems and structures in our life that we need so that we can get our life on some new journey, some new chapter, some new direction in life that we've been trying to get to for quite some time. that I've been talking about in all my videos that I'll explain more about in a minute. All right, we're trying to put the systems and the structures in place that we need in order to move forward, putting our life in a better place, putting our life in a place that we feel is going to help us move up in the world and get us the social standing that we want, or put it in the right direction that we feel it needs to go in. All right, if this full moon I haven't talked about the lunar eclipse yet. If this full moon is not about us completing something, completing the structures to support the new life, then it's about ending something. What could we be ending? We could be ending the old systems and the old structures that were according to an old life that aren't what we need now in order to move forward. We could also be ending to Capricorn an old life direction, an old way our life is going, an old social standing, an old reputation too, so that we can move forward. I also suppose I should note as well, with Capricorn being the sign of your career, some of us could also be making big career changes at this time, or really have been trying to make big career changes for quite some time in order to get here. All right. So that's what I'll say about that. That's, to me, in a nutshell, what this full moon in Capricorn is about. We're putting new structures and systems in place to put our life in a new direction, and we're letting go of old systems and structures based on an old life so that we can go in this new direction, and letting go of an old social standing, an old reputation, letting go of a lot of old things. All right. How does this being an eclipse change it? What does an eclipse mean? Well, this being an eclipse to me takes this full moon and superpowers it. Takes this full moon and makes it bigger in its scope. And to me, when I say bigger in its scope, it means it gives the impact, this full moon lunar eclipse, more impact in the future, more impact in the moment, but also more impact in the past as well. It works both ways. It's not like, oh, this full moon lunar eclipse is going to affect us majorly in the future. It's also that major things from the past that have been stuck or slow or haven't come together are now also finally going to start to get moving in order for us to move forward into the future. All right. So that to me is a lot of what a full moon, in this case, lunar eclipse does. The lunar eclipse makes this full moon and makes it have very long legs from which to be with us, sure, for the next few weeks, but also for the next few months and years, and also makes it very relevant to a lot of things from the past that have been stuck or delayed that we have not gotten answers to. Okay. Makes it even bigger, and it especially is going to be big, this full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn, not only because it's a lunar eclipse, but also because a lot of other things that have been going on in the astrology for quite some time that are a little bit unusual that have been leading us to this point. All right, so I want to be clear here. This is a big deal because it's a lunar eclipse in regards to our past and our future, kind of like changing our course in life in a major way. But it's also a big deal too because of a lot of other alignments going on. What are those other alignments that are going on right now that have been affecting that? Well, I'm going to step back a minute to give you more of the context of how we got here to explain that before we move further talking about this full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn. All right, in order to do that, I'm going to go back to, of course, the Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter stuff, which has been going on for quite some time and which is pretty rare. Saturn and Pluto only come conjunct about every 35 years in the astrology, and not always in Capricorn, and not always while Jupiter is there, which makes this pretty big. And my dog thinks it's big too because he's squeaking his squeaker right now. So please excuse him while he does that. I'm hoping he'll stop soon. What is Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter been about? Well, Pluto to me is the planet of change and the planet of transformation. And with Saturn being there and with Pluto being in Capricorn, it's about us trying to change the structure of our lives in the direction of our lives, which we've been trying to do since these two planets came exactly started to come conjunct around April of 2019. So what I believe has been going on since April of 2019 is that we've been trying to change the structure of our lives to be something different. Why, since April 2019, and really even longer, have we been trying to do that? We've been trying to change the structure of our lives to be something new and different, because either the way our life used to be, we either didn't like it. For many of us, it could have just been very bad, or we've grown out of it and we want different experiences and need different experiences now in order to grow. We have been trying to get there, to overcome these old things and these old chapters in life, which based on the Saturn Pluto cycle may have been around for 35 years. And the new moon solar eclipse in Cancer that happened 2 weeks ago, and the full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn happening now, which is what this video is for, is finally like the completion, I'll say that because this is a lunar eclipse, is finally the completion of that Saturn Pluto story with Jupiter now involved. It's finally the completion of that thing that we've been trying to do the past few years, the past few months and years, to change our life, to turn it around, to put it on some different trajectory and some different path. The full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn happening now is finally the climax, the graduation point, the moment that it happens. It's finally the moment that all your hard work from the past to get you on some different path in life is finally going to start to take form, is finally going to start to pay off in real ways. Capricorn, in real ways, and is finally going to start to become more structured and more real, with more of a systematic approach to going about it, so that we can finally start to feel more solid without all this craziness going on and without so many things being up in the air. All right. So that's what I want to say about that. And not only is the full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn about us finally stepping into these massive changes in our life that we've been trying to get to for quite some time, but it's also about us finally also letting go of the old 35 years of our life and the old things that persisted, so that we can get on this new path moving onwards. And a new path, which I do believe is going to be with us for the next few weeks being a full moon, for the next few months being a lunar eclipse, for the next few years, and especially with Saturn Pluto involved, for the next few decades. All right, this is a new chapter in life that's going to possibly be with us for the next 35 years. So this is a big deal. This full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn is like the completion, the graduation moment, or the ascension moment, if you will, helping us to finally move on in the ways that it is that we need. Anything else that I want to say about Capricorn before we move forward? Yes. Capricorn to me also does have a lot to do as well with karma, because Capricorn is a Saturn ruled sign, and also because Saturn and Pluto are both in Capricorn. The moon isn't too terribly close to Pluto, but I don't know, it's still kind of close, and it's been in a thing. It's been around the spot that Saturn and Pluto have been for the past few years. So another interpretation that I do want to mention here is that not only at this full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn are we finally stepping into a new chapter in life that will be with us for decades. That's different than anything we've ever experienced before, finally happening now that we've been trying to get to, and about taking down all the old stuff that does not finally support this new life. Even though it is about that, and that is a big deal, Capricorn, again, has to do with karma. This full moon lunar eclipse can also bring, the erasing of karma and the starting of new karma, okay? Because we are, and the fulfillment of karma as well. Because we are letting go of an old chapter in life and stepping into a new chapter, that also means our karma has to change, all right? And I don't mean necessarily karma in a bad way. Karma is really just the results of our actions. So karma can be either good or bad. I don't mean to scare you. It just depends on your actions and the things you have sowed from the past, okay? And because this full moon lunar eclipse being in Capricorn has a lot to do with karma, for better or worse, what it can mean is that finally at this full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn, you start to see the results of all your karma from the past. For some of you, this could be very good karma. For some of you, you're starting to see at this full moon lunar eclipse a lot of very, very good things happen because you have been diligent the past few months in order to get yourself to where it is that you need to go, even if bad things happened to you. And so now you're seeing good things manifest, good things come to you. Not only are you start to finally feel good and see good things come to you, but you may also be as well releasing that karma or setting yourself up for the next bout of karma to be created from here on out. All right, if some of you aren't getting very, very good karma at this time, as we finally step into this new chapter in life that we've been trying to get to and see all the results from our past work come in order for us to move forward, then I will just say, just because this is a full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn ruled by Saturn, the planet of hard truths and hard knocks, that for some people, many people, this could also be a return of bad karma as well. This could be a return of things from the past weren't done right, weren't done fairly, weren't done just, and now some bad karma is coming back to bite you, so that you can complete that karma and start over with a new cycle of karma, hopefully making it better. Whether or not your karma is good or bad is not up to me. That's up to you and how you feel and your intuition and you and God and you and spirit. But it's just something that I want to mention here, that there is a lot of shifting of karma and a lot of fulfillment of karma happening here. Very, very good things coming to people who have been really working hard to improve themselves and to get their lives on a better trajectory, and some really challenging things coming to people who have not quite made the cut or have not quite done things in the way that maybe spirit, soul, God, the universe was hoping. So that other karma can be created from here on out. But again, not for me to say, just for me to explain. All right, another thing that I suppose I should say as a result of that as well, because we are seeing the fulfillment of karma happen at this full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn, as we shift chapters in life majorly from one story to another. All right, what this means is that I do believe that a lot of humanity is going to shift as well. I do believe that we are going to start to see a major shift within the world, within humanity, within people, as we start to see these chapters change and this karma be fulfilled of what happened from the past. We're going to start to see some people really begin to grow, really begin to thrive, and really begin to live their best life, if you will. And we're who have good karma coming to them, and we're going to see other people that don't have good karma to them suffer and have hard things happen. All right, there could be a thing that's going to go on. If you've got the good karma coming to you, I think this is going to be very positive, but it's a whole other conversation that's a lot more complex than this. But there could be a lot of things, what I'm trying to say, that happen in the world from this point onwards that may not be pleasant because of that fact. There are a lot of things that may happen in the world that may not be pleasant from here on out, even more so than what we've seen before, because we're now starting to see a major rift and in consciousness and in paths in people between those who have learned the lesson and done what needed to be done, Saturn, Capricorn, and those who haven't. I like to think those who are having good karma are going to be safe, but there are those of us who are doing well that are going to have to wait while the rest of the world catches up and while the other things learn the lessons that did not get learned and shift and move forward. So I don't quite know how to introduce that to you all in a playful kind of way, especially because this is not a playful kind of full moon. This is a full moon in Capricorn. Capricorn, karma, hard knocks, hard truths, Saturn ruled. I don't know how to break the news to you, but this is a major point that I do want you all to understand. Some people are going to be stepping into very good next chapters of their life. A wish fulfilled, wish fulfillment. After a whole bunch of bad chapters or struggles or things you didn't like, some of us are not going to like this new chapter so much. And the people who are getting the good are going to be here watching the people who aren't getting the good. That may cause a little bit of a rift. That could be a bit difficult as all of us as humanity gets together, but that I like to believe that the people who have been doing what they needed to do are going to be safe and protected as this happens over the course of the next few months and maybe year or so that these big world events happen. Okay. Now, enough of that. Let me talk about this full moon lunar eclipse itself and the aspects that it's making. So I'm going to place it again on the chart. Here is the full moon, the moon opposite the sun. The main aspect that this full moon is making, in my opinion, is going to be the square over here that both the moon and the sun are making to both Mars and Chiron in Aries. And this is very, very hard. Why is this a hard alignment? Whether you have good karma or bad karma, this is hard. Okay. The good karma or the bad karma is coming after the full moon lunar eclipse and not at the time of it. All right. Why is this hard? Because it's a square for 1, because it's Mars for 2, and because it's Chiron for 3. Squares are a hard aspect. Mars can bring anger, aggression, and frustration, and Chiron brings even more of that woundedness and even more of that vulnerability. So what does this mean? That as we are finally releasing the old life and stepping into the new, that there could be a lot of anger and a lot of frustration directed inwardly at ourselves or directed outwardly at other people. Why could there be a lot of frustration? Well, this is Aries. What does Aries have to do with? Aries has to do with who we are, our identity being the first sign of the zodiac, and also about how we do things being a Mars ruled sign with Mars now in its home sign. There could be a lot of frustration, anxiety, fear, anger, and worry about what? About who we are and about how we need to do things moving forward to get us the best result in the future, to set us up for these different chapters in life. There could be some of us that don't know who we're about to be or how to do things, or that are scared to be different and to do things differently, and that are still holding on to the past. That could be hard. There's this part of us at this full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn that knows we're being called higher, that knows we're being called to different things, that knows it's time for us to end a really long story of our life that really is no longer about to apply anymore. There's a part of us that knows that, but there's another part of us that's scared about leaving the past behind, about doing things differently, and about stepping into this new identity that's causing a lot of anger and a lot of frustration. I don't think these are new, to be honest. I don't think this is new fear. I don't think this is new anger, especially as we're coming up to Capricorn, which has to do with long-term seeds that we've been planting and things that have happened in the past and things are going to happen in the future. I don't think these are new. I think these are a lot of old fears about this new person that we've been trying to become for quite some time, and about this new way of doing things that we've been trying to get to for quite some time that now has to become real, that now has to become a thing. That's what these fears and frustrations are about. I've been trying to be new and different. I've been trying to get on some new journey in life. Now I have to commit. Saturn, Capricorn. Now I have to commit 100%. I am scared to commit. I am scared to seal the deal. I am scared to end this last chapter of my life and more fully start the other life. Can create a lot of frustrations and a lot of feelings within us as we figure this out. That could be very, very hard. That we're going to have to deal with and that we're going to have to work out, especially because this is a T-square. A T-square is 2 planets that oppose each other that connect a planet by square. And whenever you get a T-square, it forms like an arrow, if you can see it in the astrology, you know. And what is the arrow pointing to? The tip of the T-square, which is the Mars-Chiron stuff. So we may be feeling very angry, very anxious, very worried, very fearful, very frustrated about this full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn as we step into this new life and more permanently become someone new and different. But the key to dealing with that frustration is to not ignore it, is to not pretend it's not there, is not to run away from it. The key to dealing with this fear and this frustration about who we're becoming and how we're going to do things in this new life is to, arrow pointing to it, is to face it. Is to face it, is to say, why am I afraid? I've been trying to get to this new life for so long. Why am I afraid? This new life is the result of all these past actions that have now led up to this point. Why am I afraid? Why am I scared? Why am I hesitant? What does this mean? It's also about us going further into it. Not only why am I afraid, but who do I want to be next? How do I want to be next? What is that way that feels right in my soul to get me this different result? It's about us going further into that frustration in order to figure it out. Okay? But I don't think we're going to be lost. I don't think we're going to be lost, especially because this full moon lunar eclipse has long roots in the past and long legs in the future. I don't think we're going to be left out to dry. I don't think that what's going to happen at this full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn is that, especially those of us who've got good karma coming to us, I don't think that it's going to be like trying to get on some new journey in life finally to make it complete, but oh my gosh, I'm scared, I can't, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, mad. Not going to do it. I feel like we are going to find it within us, the courage in order to make it happen, and that we are going to find within us, or from God, from spirit, from soul, from universe, the answer, the insight, the inspiration, the push in order to make it happen. Why? By going in and facing these hard things. Why? Because at the same time that Mars is about to conjunct Chiron in a few days, Chiron is stationing to go retrograde. And I think when planets station and go retrograde and direct, they can bring big realizations about things. They can bring big realizations. In this case, Chiron, Aries, about what has been hurting us, about ourselves, about our identity, and about how we act. So as much frustration as there could be on the surface in a lot of our lives, oh my gosh, new chapter in life, can I do it, can I not, who is it, what am I going to do, angry, upset, as much frustration as there is on the surface, deep down from within us, especially if we go into this frustration, strength, power, insight, truth, answers are going to arise, helping to push us on, saying, you got this. You got this, you can do it. You've been preparing for this for so long. You were born for this. You were born for this. You're ready. You can do this. You've been making this happen for so long. Go get it. Especially because I do believe as well with the Saturn Pluto stuff that's been going on for so long and the nodes being involved in this lunar eclipse, like a lot of us are stepping into our destiny. A lot of us, especially if we've been doing our best to get the good karma to move things forward, a lot of us are about to step into our soul purpose, our destiny, what we're created for, what we were made for. So there's something I feel from deep within us that's going to happen at this full moon lunar eclipse, or from God, spirit, soul, the universe, that's saying this is your destiny. You were made for this. You were created for this. Time to live it. Time. I know you're scared. I know you're afraid. I know you've never done this before. I know you don't know how to proceed, but that's okay. You were made for this. You know it in your soul, and you will figure it out, and you have to do it. And I like to think that occurs. Other reasons why I like to think that occurs as well is because, quite a few things. Other reasons why I like to think that occurs as well is because not only is Chiron stationing to go retrograde very soon, but the Sun and Mercury also just were recently conjunct as well, especially while Mercury is retrograde. And when Mercury is retrograde, it's a good time for us to rethink who we are, to rethink how we feel about ourselves, Cancer, and about our lives, Cancer, where Mercury is, especially when the Sun conjuncts Mercury, bringing a major readjustment. So another reason why I don't think that we're going to be out to sea adrift, fears, insecurities, lost, angry, upset, but why there is hope, why there is destiny, why there is God, spirit, soul, the universe in the details, in the plans, is also because of this retrograde really helping us to say it's time, it is time to shift, it is time to move, it is time to be different, it is time. Like there's just this feeling, I feel like that's going to start to come at this full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn, where you're going to feel within your soul God speak, God push you on, and like, it's time, it is time, it is time, it is time. Whatever that means to you, it is time for different things to happen in life. It is time for you to change. Destiny is here. You can no longer wait. You cannot wait anymore. You cannot hesitate anymore. You cannot play anymore. Well, I don't know if I want to say not play, because we do have the North Node still in Gemini, which it will be for quite some time. But this is a full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn, and Capricorn is the sage, the wise teacher. There's something about this full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn that's saying time for your life's work to begin, time for something else to begin that's going to be good for you, and time for all of the blockages to release, to allow you to move forward. And I know I've spent a lot of time so far in this video talking about blockages with you, with us, and ourselves. A lot of the blockages being our own perception of ourselves, and a lot of fears and insecurities and emotions about ourselves and who we are and how we do things in our life next. But I also want to note as well that not only is this full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn about us releasing the bonds on ourselves, about us releasing this unhealthy mentality that's preventing us from moving forward, but it's also about external events breaking in our lives too. Not only are we changing to allow different experiences to come and to be different, but also things externally are also going to start to move too. We may have to confront them first, okay? So I'm seeing it twofold. We may have to confront ourselves and our own issues first, and we may have to confront our external environment and all the things in our external environment that are not shaking and working first. But once we confront our inner self, and once we confront the external events that are not right, then things are going to shift. All right? I want to make that clear. It's not one or the other, only internal, only external. It's both. Both things here are not right. Both things need to be faced so that both things can be shifted, and so that we can finally feel karma from the past being fulfilled, new karma starting. Life from the past ending, new life starting as we move on without the fear, the worry, the insecurity anymore. And without everything being in the mind only, but with it actually happening to help us onwards. All right. Other reasons why I also I think we're going to have a lot of help here to break internal perspectives that aren't healthy, especially emotionally, about ourselves, and to break external events that aren't right for us so that they can be better, is also because of this full moon lunar eclipse too, being in a sextile over here to Uranus and Taurus from the sun, and the sextile over here to Neptune and Pisces on the moon side. So what that means to me is that not only do we have the support to face the things about ourselves that are resistant to the new life and overcome them, and to face the things externally that aren't right and to overcome them and to move forward into these different chapters, but also that doing that, facing these things, is going to put us at ease. That facing these things that aren't right and overcoming them and beating them and coming out victorious is going to help us feel like finally, sextile to Neptune and Pisces, we're overcoming the past and we're moving on, feeling more in tune with our spirit and soul. And also sextile Uranus to Taurus, like we're becoming more stable, more secure in our life, more confident, more settled, and more together with all the things that we need, helping us to move onwards. Okay. So I'm really optimistic about a lot of it. Venus too, direct, and a sextile to Chiron and Aries, and gonna sextile Mars and Aries. I'm telling you, there could be a little bit of a shakedown moment that happens at this full moon lunar eclipse. Oh my goodness, I don't know if I can get on the new life. Oh my goodness, I don't know if I can get on the new journey in life. Sorry, I think my image has frozen for a minute on the video, but there can be a little bit of a shakedown that happens at this full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn. We say, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can get on this new life. I don't know if I can build the new structures to make the new life permanent, even though I've been trying to do it for quite some time. And is it going to work? And is it going to be good? And are things going to shift in my favor? There could be a little bit of a freak out moment. I don't know. I'm scared. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. I'm mad at myself, at other people, etc., etc. But somewhere out of that shakedown moment, somewhere out of that frustration, especially if we've been doing the best that we can to get on some new journey in life, courage is going to come. An answer is going to come. God, angels, spirit, something is going to come helping us to move forward. We are going to be like, especially with the Saturn Pluto stuff that's been going on for so long, and the moon not too close, but fairly close to the Pluto stuff, we are going to be like a phoenix rising. We are going to be like, after this full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn, a phoenix rising from the ashes. Things in life that we thought were dead, things in life that we thought we could never grow past, we could never overcome, we could never move forward from. Finally, we're going to. Finally, we're going to rise from the ashes. We're going to get wings and we're going to fly, especially for those of us who have it coming, which isn't for me to say, it's for you to decide. Although I do these horoscopes with those people in mind who have good karma, catering it more to those, and with those people who are trying to do their honest work of self-improvement. Because that's who I feel like is mostly going to watch astrology videos anyways. But I just wanted to clarify that. All right, and I think that's all I'm going to say there. Well, is there anything else I want to say? Because I know I haven't really talked much about like the nodes being in another sign. And the reason why I haven't really talked much about the nodes being in Gemini and Sagittarius is because I feel like we haven't really, like, even though the nodes are in Gemini and Sagittarius, and even though there have been some world events that do feel very Gemini and Sagittarius, there's a part of me that feels like we haven't fully entered nodes Gemini Sagittarius yet. And that we haven't fully entered it yet until now, this full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn. So that's the reason why I haven't really talked about the nodes changing signs as much, because until this full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn, the last eclipse in Cancer and Capricorn, we're still in Cancer and Capricorn time. But now that this full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn is happening, which is what this video is for. Now that this full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn is happening, the nodes in Gemini and Sagittarius, we're going to start to feel stronger, more, hotter. They're going to come on more. And what is that all about? Well, the North Node to me in Gemini is all about making some new life familiar and relaxing into some new life and playing with some new life, being more playful and speaking more of your truth about your experiences now that things have changed to be what you do or do not need them to be. So the way that I feel, just to add that one last piece of the puzzle onto all of that, is that once this full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn happens, once we finally step into the new life that we've been trying to get to, structure it, allow ourselves to be it, okay? And let the old life go and the old fears go and the old external events go, even if we have to fight with them for a minute. It's that once we build the new life and step into it, then North Node Gemini, then, not before, but after, then we're going to start to feel lighter, more at ease, more playful, and better for us, easier for us to speak our truth, to say things that are on our mind and to share our voice. We just needed this to happen first. We just needed this shift to occur. We just needed this karma to change or to release. We just needed these major chapters of our lives to be worked out. And once that is worked out, which it is going to be now, things get easier, especially for those of us who have the good times coming. What's going on in the world is another conversation. I don't do these videos for people of the world, like I don't want to use a Christian term, there's people of the world, there's a worldly person. I don't want to use it, but at the same time, that's kind of how I feel. I don't do these videos for people of the world who are living their life without any thought of spirituality. I do these videos for people who are on the path of spiritual and personal development and who want to improve their lives. So when I give you advice, I give it to you with that in mind. And for people who I believe are interested in personal spiritual development, you got a lot of good things coming. And this is going to be very helpful to allow you to move forward. Other things that I want to do before we go, I do like to read always the inside degrees and then pull a card. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to read the inside degrees for the full moon itself, lunar eclipse, which is going to be 13 degrees Capricorn. I didn't write these, someone else did, but I like to share them and then give some of my thoughts on them. Because to be honest with you, this is the way you teach in school, you know, like whenever I remember a lot in high school, a lot of it is reading aloud in class. And then after you read, some of the students read a paragraph aloud in class, then the teacher asks the students, what did you just read? What does that mean to you? So that's why I like to read and then share my opinions and my thoughts. 13 degrees Capricorn, inside degrees on another computer screen I'm reading. It says, I'm just going to read a few sentences. Taking advantage of your own beast of burden endurance to get the most out of yourself you possibly can. What does that mean to me? Again, that somewhere at this full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn, we are going to find it within ourselves. Find the endurance, something within ourselves to keep going, to seal the deal, to finish the drill, to make this new life that we've been trying to get to actually happen, and to get the most out of it, to make the most out of it with whatever we have so that we can move forward. The next sentence says, extracting productive results from all other factors and fixating upon these. So there's another part of me too that feels like for many of us, especially that have been trying to get to a better place, like we are going to make it happen. For those of us who've been trying to get to a positive place, we are going to endure. We are going to rise up. We are going to do what needs to be done to move forward and to get the best possible outcome. Even though there's a fear moment that's here at this full moon lunar eclipse, I believe that many of us are going to make it work to get the best possible outcome and to move forward. This next part of the inside degree says, not my words, again, the inside degree, if there is a self-exploitative or a darkly abusive side to your way of operating, it generates the karma of aging and death and blight. It becomes crucial to develop against the grain, compassion, and all the gentler feelings. So here's another indicator here. Be careful what you do from here on out, because it's going to set up a new cycle of karma now that you're releasing the old cycle. This is saying step into the new chapter in life and do what it takes to make it happen. And I do believe we will find the courage to make it happen, but do it in a way that has compassion, gentler feelings, especially with the sun here in Cancer, and that is full of integrity, another word that Capricorn likes, so that not only can we have good karma from the past, but so that we can generate more good karma down the line. Okay, now I'm just going to read, I think, some things from Capricorn 14 degrees Capricorn as well, because the moon is moving to that degree after the full moon lunar eclipse, and because I also like some thoughts there. That says this: the body carries memories of every world we have ever been through. These memory strings or beads bind us to the earth. So that's another thought about this full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn, is that it does have a lot of ties with the past and can be a little bit somber, I suppose, as we try to overcome the past, endure, get into these new chapters and make them happen. It says we feel pinned to the spot, responsible for everything that happens around us, somehow the one in charge. For we are carrying the continuous memory and legacy of the ancient mystery streams and forgotten modes of knowledge. We bear the treasures intact. It makes everything count. So there's this sense of so much from the past that we're having to transmute into treasures, so much from the past that we're having to transmute in the future, that are heavy and that are bringing a lot of responsibility for us at this full moon lunar eclipse, but that are going to help us get to where we need to go. The rest of the inside degree says, it means that we cannot get away from ourselves or our fate for a moment. We are compelled to fulfill our vows, to bring into this world the towering awareness and strange resonance of the giants, the ancestors, the great ones, of the inner ways, never lost, impossible to forget. So that also makes me think here that, like, not only could this full moon lunar eclipse feel a little bit heavy as we finally do make these shifts, which are then going to make us feel lighter, North Node in Gemini, but that it's also about us, right, learning the lessons of the past so that they can better inform the future, and that it's also about us too. Like, I almost get the sense of this last line, like going back to who we were before the hard times happened. And I don't want to say, like, I don't believe that this time in the astrology is about going back. Like, we're not going back. We're not going back to the way things used to be. Before coronavirus, we're not. Before our life got bad, 10, 20, 30, or got weird, we're not going back. All right, in any sense of the word, we are only going forward into something drastically different that we have never ever experienced before, which is the drama of this full moon lunar eclipse. We are only going forward, but what this makes me think is that even though we are only going forward, we're going forward having uncovered our true soul and our true essence, and being able to share that more fully than we were able to ever before, even though it still exists. You know, like, even though our life is about to change to be very different than anything that it's still been before, and better, I think, there's, you know, like, how do I feel? How do I want to explain this? You know, we have still persisted. Like, if you're watching my video, you were alive in the past, and you are alive now, and you will still be alive. Hopefully, all of us will, for longer. Okay, we're still going to exist. That hasn't changed. It's still our body. It's still our experiences in some way. That hasn't changed. That is still going to be there. But how we express that is going to be totally different than whatever we've been before. And I think what I'm trying to get to as a result of this inside degree is that it's time for us to be different, step into different experiences, but to fully stand up and be confident in who we are and what we have to offer, and in what we have always really had to offer, but that we have never fully let out. And now it's the time to step into our fullest potential and to use our full gifts. And I don't like to use, like, I really don't like to use all this like spiritual new age terms. You know, I guess I have a lot of opinions about some of that, which a lot of you will probably disagree on. I don't always like to use it, but I have been a lot lately, because I felt like a lot lately that a lot of these spiritual and new age terms apply, especially if you've been watching videos on my website, wondergirlastrology.com. And what this reminds me of is stepping into our purpose, stepping into our power. I want to tease out the point about there being a splitting of karma at this time. At this time in the world, especially, I do believe there's going to be a splitting of karma where people who are on the right path are going to ascend and go even higher and reach even more insane, better levels in their life. And people who are not on the right path or haven't been doing what needs to be done are going to have really hard times, not now, but in the months after this point. And I almost want to say here that the people who are ascending and are on the right path and are stepping more fully into their power is doing it so that we can help the people who aren't there, and help and so that we can fully use our gifts and our talents and more express those things in a way that can help to bring the rest of humanity on board in these better places. It may not be fun. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's not fun to have to help people who have bad karma. It's not fun to have to help people who have wronged you. It's not fun to have to help people who have fallen behind. It's not fun to have to do that, but I'm also getting a feeling of a certain group of us being called to do that. And that's why so many people at this time are going to start to step into our power and our destiny in order to help everyone else who hasn't come higher. And I suppose, like, maybe that's, I don't know, maybe that's the true purpose of a light worker, is to live that life of not only of their purpose, but of surrender to helping the rest of humanity. So there's another weird thought there as well that's trying to come through too, about the people who are ascending and stepping into their power and stepping into their gifts, are stepping into their gifts to serve the world, to serve humanity, and to help usher everyone else along, even if it's feels a bit heavy at the moment, as we do it. Yeah. Like, I have a Virgo South node. I don't particularly care for New Age terms, light workers, twin flames, ascension. I really don't care for it. But I've said a lot of that in the past few months on videos on my website and now here, because I do feel like that's where we now are. That's where we now are, and that maybe there's some truth to it. And that maybe those are just the only words that can explain some of the things that are going on right now. And that now is the time. You know, I didn't really use some of those words in the past, because I should also note that I just didn't feel like it was, not that I didn't feel like it was happening in the past, but that I didn't feel like the time was ripe for it in the past. You know, like I didn't feel like, even though maybe in the past there could have been like a huge ascension process going on with humanity, even though that was probably going on in the past in order to get us now here to this point, I didn't feel like the time was ripe. And now I feel like the time is ripe for a lot of people's minds to open, eyes to open, for them to ascend, and for the people who aren't there yet to be helped by the people who are, and to ideally be helped and guided in positive, loving, uplifting ways. Than in harsher ways, especially now that I think those of us who are ascending higher are starting to heal more fully and more completely from the wrongs that were done to us in the past. Okay, now your card for this eclipse, which is a big deal, is the Sun, upright. Love it. Finally, an upright card, you guys. And it's a major arcana card, and it's a really good one. I tell you, I do pull upright cards. It has to be what it needs to be. And I guess we're feeling a good card here. The Sun, upright. This to me indicates that this can be, I know I've mentioned that this full moon lunar eclipse can be heavy in a lot of ways, especially as we make this transition between the old and the new life, come out of old karma and into new karma, pay off some old debts, and as we really face our fears internally and externally in order to move forward. But even though I've said that, and I do believe all of that, it's going to get us to a happier place. Like, as a result, North Node and Gemini Twins, there's two of them on this card. This isn't the card that I would normally associate with Gemini, but literally on this card, there are two dancing babies. Like, how Gemini is that? Castor and Pollux is that. And they're like naked kids. So I'm saying, I think once we deal with this stuff, once we deal with the karma, once we make this switch, we're going to feel like newborn babies. We're going to feel like kids again. We're going to feel so free and so happy to just do what it is that we love, and to just shine our truth, to make ourselves happy, to make other people happy, and to stand in our power, and to stand in our confidence, and to not make any apologies for it. You know, the Sun doesn't apologize for shining. The Sun doesn't apologize. So I think after this point in time, we're going to be more unapologetically ourselves and be all the better for it, and not afraid to shine our light. Another thing maybe about light workers. This full moon lunar eclipse is like calling all light workers to your posts, to your places. Okay, because some major stuff is about to go down in the world, and we need all of you to help. The card at the bottom of the deck is the Ace of Swords reversed. What is that about? Well, typically when I see the Ace of Swords reversed, I think of confusion, typically, when I see it reversed. But how do I want to feel about this? You know, we're in Cancer season. We just had a new moon solar eclipse in Cancer, which has been a very, very long time coming. So how do I want to interpret this? I almost feel like this is about us trusting our soul, trusting our intuition, and trusting our spirit. Not that logic isn't important, but I think that what's going on at this full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn is that we are, especially with the sun and Mercury in Cancer, we're learning how to work the emotional stuff out, how to listen, how to honor, how to trust, how to be in tune with our emotions. And by us being in tune with our emotions, we are then feeling happier, feeling better, and feeling stronger. And we're then getting the clarity that it is that we need. You know, like in some of the Ace of Swords cards, and I'm not necessarily in this deck, but in some decks, it's like the sword comes out of a cloud, the sword comes out of the water, the sword comes out of some like murkiness, which can be confusion, but which could also be emotion. So there's a part of me that feels like by us tending to our lives and our emotions and working the emotional frustrations out, we're going to actually, and by us going into some confusion, we're going to actually come into some insight, and we're going to come into some clarity, or we're not going to care as much about the clarity, and we're just going to be happy. You know, like that's another thing too, perhaps about the Gemini influence. You know, like as much as the North Node in Gemini, as much as Gemini is an air sign, which does have to do with logic and does have to do with communication, I don't personally, even though I've got a lot of planets in Gemini, see Gemini as a sign that puts meanings together well. I feel like the only reason why I'm able to explain astrology coherently is because I have not all my Gemini planets, even though I have a stellium in Gemini, it's because I have all of them opposite Saturn in Sagittarius, and I've got a 9th house Mars and North Node with the South Node in Virgo. So I feel like that's why I am better at putting meanings together. But I see Gemini as being a good thinker and a good communicator, but not good at putting meanings, beliefs, and information together to make something bigger than the facts, bigger than the small things. So another way that I'm thinking about this too is that maybe the whole point is not to logically understand our lives anymore after this point. Maybe the whole point after this full moon lunar eclipse is to let ourselves be whatever it is they're meant to be. You know, like that's what Gemini to me does well. Like, I don't judge the facts, I just share the facts. I don't make sense of the facts, I just share them, whatever they are, whatever they want to be, just be. So I think that maybe there's another message that I'm trying to get here of like, once we deal with the emotions and once we deal with the frustrations, sure, maybe we'll get a lot of clarity about our life so that we can be happier, but maybe we'll also care less about the clarity and care less about the logic and care less about everything add up, and we'll just freaking live. We'll just live life and just be who we are and just accept who we are without all of the constant like frustration and soul searching and big questions about life. We just will be who we are and who we need to be in order to move forward. And I like it. I like both of these cards for saying full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn, deal with the stuff that needs dealing with to finally make this new chapter manifest, and then let yourself just be, let yourself just shine, let yourself just live, whoever it is, let yourself just say what you want to say, express what you want to express, do in order to be happy. Okay, now I'm not saying to ignore the guidelines about the virus, all right? I'm not saying do that. There are other ways to shine and to be who you are and to also be healthy and safe. Okay, but just that once we do the things that we need here, that it's going to be a lot easier for us to express ourselves or to find ways around restrictions that are actually going to be a lot more pleasing to us than we thought or than they have been before, and very helpful. All right, so that is your forecast. Sorry I went long, but it is a lunar eclipse and it is a big deal for so many reasons. So I hope that you can understand why I would want to go long here. But thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please like it on YouTube, subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends, visit my website, and I will talk to you on the next one.